So I'm making this video because I think this is really important. And this is that we need to have faith and believe in the younger generation. And this is why. Calcified belief systems. What do I mean by that? It's interesting how I came up with this analogy, or this analogy got in my head. I did a video project for somebody that needs a kidney, and they have kidney disease, and they explain their kidney like a good healthy kidney is like a sponge, and it moves around, and it's spongy, and that's how a kidney works and is really efficient. But they were saying that theirs is becoming kind of calcified, or it's losing the sponginess and it's becoming rigid. And so, how does this relate to belief systems and why we need to have faith in our younger generation? And this is why, because the younger generation are malleable. And I don't mean this in we can get them to think we want, but we can get them, they can create belief systems much easier. It's kind of like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And it kind of goes with humans as well. Been thinking about the older generation, especially the older generation that is um, criticizing the millennials, especially, that they're lazy and all of these things. And I have a very different perspective of that, and I want to share that with you. And that's probably why I get along with teenagers so well, is because I come to them not in a manner of needing them to believe anything. I just come to them to like add questioning that questions their thoughts, that progresses them along the way, because a lot of teenage angst is about not really understanding the world, and they don't understand it how it's in relationship with themselves. Um, and so, they go through this process of individuation against their parents, or their caregivers, and it's not really against, but it is kind of, it's finding their own path. And how they go about that is, if they get mentors that are older, that have calcified belief systems, basically belief systems that they can't give up. There's no flexibility within their belief system. So teenagers just go, well, you're just telling me this, and that doesn't make any sense to me. That's because I believe that we don't trust. Like I think a lot of people go thinking towards younger people that you need to share your rigid belief systems, because they're impressionable youth. Like, they can't think on their own, they can't make decisions on their own, and that's not the way I work with them. So when I've worked with teenagers, either in practice, coaching, or teaching, I don't try to throw my belief systems around. I help by questioning them to look at their belief systems, and to see if there's malleability, or there's something bigger, greater on the other side of where they're kind of stuck in their belief systems. So I want to talk a little bit about why it's so important for us to switch our brains around and our minds around on looking at the youth today. We can't be scared of them. We have to trust them, because they're going up against, we still have this these people that are voting, that have these absolutely calcified belief systems, under the guise of things like traditional values and these kind of things. And, if you could just imagine, like, when I imagine somebody like this, I think of them going, yeah, yeah, if, a new idea is coming in there, they're going, la, 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 No, we just do it our way. We just do it our way, and we're proud of the way that we've always done it. So I want to talk about like my own, I started my, as I said to a class the other day, that um, I kind of had my second individuation process, and really my only individuation process when I was around 40, where I started individuation against our culture and individuating against the ideas that our culture was espousing. And um, and so here would be an example of it that I'm seeing is we're starting to see this. This is an example of calcification in belief systems, and how it's, like youth can come up with better, more creative, and amazing and progressive ideas because their belief systems are more malleable, and they can find the intelligence and a better way of playing together as opposed to us. I'm in my, near 50 now, and I understand how difficult it is for me to overcome my belief systems that I have carried with me for so many years. So this isn't a judgmental thing against it. This is just an observation of something that needs to take place. A switch of our mind, of having faith and trust in this younger generation, which I'm so proud of them. I think of what we've done, and one of the big things is we're saying, millennials are lazy, they don't want to do anything, and they want to have this um, kind of laissez-faire relationship with our culture and citizenship. And what did we give them? Well, when I was growing up in the 80s, like when I was a teenager, we were, companies, and our uh, culture was set up for you get a good job, and companies whole or a lot of the thought around a company was employee based, that you get a good job and then you stay with them and then you get a pension and you retire. People don't look at that at all when they look at millennials. We offered something completely new to millennials. See, in the 90s, companies changed, and the importance went from employee based to stockholder based importance. And so all of a sudden it was, if we have a bad quarter, 1,500 employees get let go. Whereas before it was like employees were part of the company. And that is a huge shift. Like, if I'm not important, look at it from the millennials' point. If I'm not important as employee, as a stockholder is, then why should I become an employee? Why should I live that paradigm out? And so here's an interesting idea of calcification of belief systems that are so hard. And I'm going to give this example. This is just one example. And I'm giving this example because I'm completely guilty of it. I did overcome it. But, it's quite an interesting thing. So we are finding we have this new marijuana revolution. It's decriminalizing across the United States. 33 out of 50 of our states have some kind of decriminalization in place. And, so when I was growing up, I grew up really conservative. I was into the traditional values thing. And, I looked down at the stoner types and that sort of thing. And, and then my belief system started later on in my life, started to become more malleable just because I started looking at the world a lot differently and I started challenging my own belief systems. And then we all of a sudden started to discover that within marijuana or cannabis, marijuana is part of the cannabis plant. We started finding that there were things called hemp, which is a version of cannabis that doesn't get you high and has things like CBD in it, a different kind of cannabinoid instead of THC. And all of a sudden, poof, they've discovered that when you give this to people with epilepsy, especially with children with epilepsy, they they have these amazing recoveries where they can they've had stories. They did a huge story about a girl who was having like 100 seizures a week, and she went down to like one a week to none a week. And there's a depth to changing belief systems. And the first one is a very egotistical one, which I'm already seeing is happening with our older generation, with people that I've known all my life that had a complete um, anti-marijuana stance. No matter what, it was like, we have to keep this decriminalized. We need to keep sending people to jail. Marijuana will just destroy our culture. And now I'm seeing these people taking CBD, and CBD is helping them with their pain and all of this. And I've spoken with these people, and their mindset is, yeah, I'm totally open to it now, and yeah, we need to decriminalize marijuana and this kind of thing. But what they don't get, so that's one level. So now it's good for them. So they've hurdled that, and they're willing to now participate. But that's not the depth of the belief system. The depth was when when all of this information came out about marijuana and these amazing effects it was having, helping people get over opioids and helping people with pain and nausea from all these different ailments, there was guilt. I experienced guilt because I was part of a belief system that held this away from people that could have been partaking in this. So there's so much human suffering that happened because of my egocentric belief system. Yeah, I mean, I didn't hold on to it as a piece of shame, but I really looked at it as, shit, my belief systems unconsciously can be hurting a lot of people. And this older generation that, with traditional values, they don't look at it that way, because they're looking at it because their beliefs, because you have to, I had to, like, you really have to twist your belief system to get to the point where you feel guilt. And I should have felt guilt for spreading pain and suffering that was unnecessary because of my lack of information. There's a whole generation of people that will never get to that point. They won't get to the, oh my God, I need to question my belief system, because I might have been hurting people, because they're not, if they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take the CBD stuff now, and they're just moving on to it. Guilt is there to help us connect with our conscience and to show that our behavior has an effect on other people. And and the people that are going la 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 la, traditional value, traditional value, traditional values, traditional values, they're not opening up. Their belief systems are so calcified, and non-malleable, that, like, screaming at these people, we had to go through a lot to switch this paradigm around marijuana. You can imagine, with all of these other belief systems that are in place that could be, and I have seen, are hurting people. We can't depend on the traditional value blah 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 people. We need to put the people that are waking up and feeling guilt and experiencing other people's pain through empathy, because of, and being humiliated. That's what I was. I was humbled by my crappy belief system and lower level belief system. We need people that are willing to see that, and we need to have faith and trust that the younger generation is going to, their belief systems aren't going to be like a cruise ship that just, we can't wait for this generation to die, because their belief systems are so slow in turning. like a trying to trying to cruise change the direction of a cruise ship rather than a speedboat. We need the youth. We have to have faith and trust in our youth in order to change the world that we're living in, so we can teach them about um, you know the malleability of belief systems. And the older generation grew up not being malleable. They were taught to not be malleable, and then they've designed their lives around not overcoming fears. If they're comfortable, if they found a way to be comfortable within our culture, they get to dictate how it is. And it's going to take people that have the courage to change their belief systems um, in order for us to speed along this process of um, progressive ideas that are here to um, help us with all the crap that's going on in our world.